All right, everyone, welcome to another broadcast of the CEA Corporate Esports Association. You might have noticed I am joined by this handsome gentleman on my right. Why don't you introduce yourself?
How's it going, everyone? My name is BeoMulf. I cast Starcraft. It's a fun time. When I'm not doing that, I'm a PhD student. I study robotics. Also, maybe less of a fun time depending on how much sleep I get. But I could not be more excited to be joining this wonderful person to the left or right of me, as I don't know how we're going with that. For this excellent series, we're gonna get going.
Yeah, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the CEA itself, Corporate Esports Association, a little bit of the spiritual successor kind of to the After Hours Gaming League. It's been running for a few seasons now. They've done a lot of cool stuff. It is, of course, for charity and, bragging rights. So there's a lot of rivalries that have developed over the years. Microsoft, Amazon, and one of the teams will be featured. Well, Amazon, one of the teams will be featuring today, and another team will be featuring today. Facebook Zuckerzerg versus Amazon Painforest. Both of these teams actually have multiple representatives in the CEA, so it's going to be pretty cool to see how they match up against each other and how they go up against each other. Because, well, as you've done your research, they're both undefeated. And why don't you talk a little bit about that, how they're doing going into today?
Yeah, so both teams, they're undefeated. They're 2-0 in weeks before, technically 3-0 if we include the fact that preseason did happen. Of course, Amazon Painforest, they were the runners-up, losing 4-3 in the spring season, the grand finals there. So obviously, some would be maybe a favorite to repeat, but they did struggle last week. They found themselves being taken to the ace match in week number 2. So maybe there's a little bit of weakness there showing. But again, 2-0. Meanwhile, of course, Facebook has stormed through the bracket. They're 3-0 as well, but they've dropped but a single map in both of their in their first 2 weeks.
So I think it is fair to say then that this is going to be a highly competitive match, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. For the matchups themselves, we are blessed on this day. We don't have a single mirror matchup except for the fourth match of the day. It is a TBT, but we're going to be looking at a PVZ to start things off, then another PVZ, and then followed up with a third PVZ. And then we'll get some Terrans there finally in at the end. By the way, there's a cool little instance, I should say, for the design of the maps. So you might have noticed, if you've been following along week to week, the maps are a little bit different. So the way that we've started things off is certainly they're certainly different for sure. So basically, we've been taking from a pool of the Team Liquid map contest. We've been taking from interesting maps that we found, and for this week, we actually had a show. Myself and Whisper, the head individual for the CEA this week, and not for the whole league actually, but for this specific week, we did a kind of a theme map where we just kind of chose maps that we were like, these are cool. These are cool, and they're basically throughout all of the history of StarCraft 2. Now, mostly we were a little bit restricted to Legacy of the Void because there are not, there's no Legacy of the Void version for, let's say, Steps of War. Even though there probably should be. Someone should get on that. But, long story short, there is a lot of very cool old school maps. And in addition to that, do you know anything about the map swap?
Yeah, just a little. So, of course, these teams, they're given this crazy map pool, but they are given also 4 alternates. Of course, the ace match is stuck there. They cannot change it. And if they don't like a map, they don't like a matchup, they say, hey, you know what, Rena, that's kind of too crazy. All right, I don't like the fact that that's going to be with this matchup. They have the opportunity to swap, I believe, if that's correct.
They do. They have so each team has 1 swap per week. Each team has 1 swap per week, and I'm not sure if you just received a message too. What they're allowed to do is basically, upon seeing the A map and the B map, swap out whether they want to choose that first map or that second map. And that's actually done after the lineups are submitted. So you may be picking a map expecting a certain matchup, and then all of a sudden your Terran favored map in a TVZ switches to a Zerg favored map, and all of a sudden all of your preparation is kind of, it gets a little bit thrown on its head. So it introduces a really neat additional element. And well, I'm looking forward to seeing more and more teams start to exploit that a little bit. It's been a little bit of time, or I guess we haven't seen much yet of that kind of be exploited, but I'm looking forward to teams becoming more and more adept at that, and I think specifically the two teams we're going to be featuring today will definitely be pretty good at that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that may also be a factor of the fact that, sometimes you get, say, what's a good example? You get two maps that are roughly even. One's maybe a smaller map, one's a bigger map, but kind of in race balance. Historically, they've been similar enough. But I think, well, of course, map, I don't know if we want to talk about this yet, but the swap we did see this week was something that was potentially a little bit impactful. I don't know, we're going to have to see what it is, but of course when you're picking between, say, Rakshir and Blackpink, that is one that does change the way the matches are played rather, well, just maybe not significantly, but at least a little when you're looking at how PvZ works. So again, as we move on here, and it looks like the admins are doing what they can to make sure that there is a substantive difference in playstyle between the two maps. I agree. I think we're going to see that more and more, and it's really kind of cool to see. Adds that extra layer of strategy on top of the standard Pro League format where you're trying to snipe your opponent, but now you're trying to snipe your opponent and snipe the map as well.
Exactly. Sniping the map is, I think, the a good turn of phrase for it. And we did try and keep things a little bit more similar-ish for theme. So, for example, you may have noticed that in map 3 of this week, we featured two maps that were both more than two-player maps. So, Merry-Go-Round and Whirlwind were the two choices. But having played StarCraft 2, anyone who has played those two maps knows that those are vastly different maps, knows that Merry-Go-Round and Whirlwind are literally the only similarity they really do have is that they both are not two-player maps. And so we could definitely see, we didn't see it this week, we didn't see the swap from Merry-Go-Round to Whirlwind, but any team that has maybe a couple of extra Zerg players, or maybe someone that really likes proxies, could definitely exploit a swap to Whirlwind. Because if you've ever tried to look for a proxy on Whirlwind, you're having a nightmare trying to do that. And it's really just not happening.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Well, I'm also excited to see. We talk about this. This is, of course, it's themed as the Dream Pool, so we get to see a bunch of maps from early on in Legacy, but also part of the Swarm, at least in part. Whirlwind's a good example there, even if we're not seeing it happen. And I'm excited to see how these maps from some number of years ago, how they play in the current meta. Because, of course, with all the balance updates, with everything else that's changed, even a map that would have been balanced one way versus the other is not necessarily going to be have that level of balance or imbalance in the current shape of things.
Yeah, definitely. No, and that was something we considered as well as something like Overgrowth, which was considered to be a very balanced map at the time. And I'm actually a little bit surprised, all things considered, that we didn't get a Terran on this map, because not too long ago, players kind of realized that there's this position behind the minerals at the third base where you can drop some siege tanks, and those will hit the natural quite effectively. That's going to be pretty difficult to deal with, I think. So I'm very surprised that we didn't get a Terran on this map.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, talking about swaps as well, I'm talking about Terran's here. Of course, map 1 could have been Overgrowth, which is a good Terran map, but could also have swapped over to Echo. And if they had any meching Terrans, for example, I mean, that's one of the maps that just, when Innovation was at his prime, right? He's playing mech everywhere. Well, he's still looking really good, but when he was really making that mech happen all over the place, that was one of the maps he was just untouchable in, because you could kind of, once you got to that 3-base setup, well, you got to 4, you got to 5, you had that high ground that you could take. And it was just so difficult to breach.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, well, it's funny because Innovation has become such an adaptable player, and well, we'll see if these two players here can kind of follow in his footsteps and similarly be adaptive. And we have spawning up in the top right the green Zerg player representing Amazon Painforest. It is Light. And you want to introduce?
Yeah, in the bottom left, in the orange, for the Facebook Zuckerzergs, it's Sour Spinach.
Yes, it is, and he is going to be going for that low ground pylon here. So we're not going to see any crazy one-base shenanigans. So already making the choice to play out this slightly non-standard map a little bit more similarly, or a little bit more normally, I should say. And how long have you played StarCraft 2 there, BeoMulf?
I started playing in 2013 when Scarlet made her crazy WCS run, where she beat Bummer on Star Station and then went on to the global finals, and made top 8. I want to say. So I started playing there. Was very bad. Was sitting there down there bronze for a bit. But really, what it turned into was the fact that I lived on satellite internet, and that was pretty much one of the only games that I could play that would not make use of that would not kill the data cap, because it's like 26 kilobytes a game.
Yes.
So I played a lot of that, dealt with the ping, just, you play macro and you get surrounds and it's fine. And then I dealt with that for about 2 or 3 years, and then moved off to college and actually was able to play a game for real, play the game on some decent amount of ping. And it was terrible because I'm sitting here and not used to having to micro my units, or more importantly, I'm not used to being able to micro my units, and things just go all over the place. And it took so many games to actually get used to the fact that things would go where I tell them to go when I tell them to do it.
In its own way, that can actually be as jarring as playing with ping when you don't have it. When you're, and I think that's a really unspoken reason for why the EU scene has gotten so much more powerful than NA, and even I would say at this point, with the depth of talent, I would say more so than Korea in a lot of ways, is because on the EU server, there is just the one server. So you are always playing with the exact same conditions in every game. You'll have the occasional lag spike, but that's going to happen everywhere. But I do want to talk a little bit about this game here. Very interesting double gate opening coming out of Sour Spinach. And Light actually, not sure if you noticed it earlier, but there was a hatch block attempt. And the Zerg player actually juked the probe and was able to still take the hatch first. It was kind of neat there.
Yeah, it's always nice when you kind of see the Zerg player play with the Fog of War, try to convince the player, oh yeah, I'm absolutely taking that third, and then they don't. But yeah, no, again, you talk about the double gate here. We do have a couple of adepts coming in, and what Sour Spinach is hoping to do here is, hey, maybe Light has not produced enough Zerglings. Maybe he's only done the form that is kind of standard to make sure I survive, but nope, Light absolutely on top of things. He's got, some number of links. He's got 10 links out of the map, pulls his drones properly in. Not really going to take any damage, so this opening that Sour Spinach has been going for that really kind of wants us to get something done early, it's not going to be all that effective.
No, it's not really going to be effective at all, to be honest. And we are seeing Light actually going up to a lot of Zerglings here. This could be pretty problematic to deal with for Sour Spinach. He doesn't have a lot of units on the map. Ooh, he is actually going to shade forward with these Adepts. Will grab a single drone. Oh, that downtown reach.
Yeah, but now he has to be very careful, as we do have the Zerglings streaming across the map, and that was almost a situation where I'm like, man, does he want to recall here? Warp Gate will finish, so any sort of drill on into this wall, Warp Gate will happen. He can keep doing that. But the 3 Adepts here with the sentries, he should probably be fine. But I almost feel like Light was sending this over maybe to check for a third base, but there is no third base because this is going to be a Glaives build from Sour Spinach, that wonderful, wonderful build that Zest started 9 months ago, or less, and is still going strong.
It certainly is. Ooh, Lings are going to try and get on top of these units. A little bit kind of, I would say, over-ambitious right there. Nice force fields from Sour Spinach, catching a couple of those Zerglings there. We do have Light adding on a Roach War now and getting Overlord speed, so he's going to be able to get a decent scout. Should be able to see what is happening from his opponent. And, oh, these sentries, they are tickling with their flashlights as much as possible, but it's not happening. They are not going to be able to deny the scout, and Light will see this, and he's going to see the third gateway, and he's going to be like, all right. And this is actually a little bit different from the Zest build. This is a 3-gate variant where you get a much, much faster third. I've seen players like Nice go for this in the last maybe month or so. And, oh, wow, I have not seen this version, though. What Nice did was he went, like, double Stargate Phoenix.
So he's going into 2 more gates. I almost feel like this isn't a fake third. I mean, you're just getting those couple gates to deal with the extra income you're going to have. But yeah, he's only on 2 gas. He's adding a couple gates. He did not have a robo previously. So he's adding that now. And yeah, it looks like behind us he's going into a, I don't know, I don't think we can call this a standard game, but this really has shades of kind of the parting Blink opening, except instead of being Blink against a Terran, it's Glaives against the Zerg just to try to keep yourself safe to be able to take that third. But the third's not even that fast. I mean, if you take a third at 5 minutes, you almost got to get something done again. As I say, that second robo going down. So
oh, wow.
I feel like I don't know, this feels kind of like the Zhao build, but not really. It's like his own particular take on it.
Yeah, it does feel like a very much, oh, this is cool, though. He's splitting up his Adepts, sending them to 3 different bases at once. Will shade forward with 2 of the groups of Adepts. These Adepts are in a great position at the natural. They actually get bullied out of the way there. Will pick off a lot of drones, though. 10 drones going down. And now another 5 Adepts are going to shade into the main base, and there's nothing to deal with them. This is really good for Sour Spinach so far.
Oh,
nice around.
Yeah, there we go. He's going to be able to get on top of that. Not a lot of drones are going to go down, although, yeah, actually, he's going to be able to get in. A couple of them are going to be able to shade out of that. But again, of course, the rule here is when you go Adepts, when you go Glaives, especially when you take a third as late as it is, you have to get something done. Now, he was able to kill 15 workers, but there is a significant army supply lead here coming for the Zerg. Roach speed just about on the way. 1-1 just about done. So there is probably an opening for Light to be able to move across the map and make something happen. But as I say that, of course, we do have Immortals on the way. Charge is just about done. And there should be enough enough gateways to support this.
Yeah, I think this was a very successful attack. Now, he does really need to... I don't agree with the decision to build an Observer there. I think you need to be Chrono boosting Immortals very hard. And he certainly needs energy for a battery overcharge. But he does have a good number of charge lots. Yeah, the force field's not ideal, but not terrible. And, well, he's got a lot of charge lots, so I think he... once he can get another Immortal and that Warp Prism out, he's going to get so much more micro potential. And, wow, that's just a lot of charge lots.
Yeah, well, there is a significant amount of roaches now streaming across the map, and one of the fun things about this map, of course, the West system is not all that far. Okay, Warp Prism just barely going to be able to pick that Immortal up in time, and now we have the Army of Light streaming in. I'm actually going to hit these Zealots as they warp in now, and it's just 3 Immortals against the world, and now only just 1 Immortal against the world, and it feels like Light has maybe found the position he is, maybe just broken his Protoss opponent. That Immortal is going to go down. There we have it. GG. Light taking game number 1.
And that was pretty razor's edge right there. That was incredibly close to being held, I feel. But it seems like Light, once he realized that there wasn't a ton for the Protoss player, he just decided to put his foot on the gas pedal and try and end that one. It did seem like he was hemming and hawing a little bit about whether to drone out of the damage he'd suffered or to play a macro game out, but ultimately ended up making the right decision and puts his team up 1-0 in this series.
Absolutely, and it really did just feel that Sour Spinach, he had some good ideas, but it felt like maybe he was a little bit too greedy on every aspect. Hoping against hope that Light would accept the damage, drone back up, go on, as you see Zerg sometimes do. But again, Light hit that gas pedal. He said, "Nope, I killed these 10 Adepts. I don't think you have enough army at home. Let's hit that roach count and go to town."
Yeah,
so
I think
we do have.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, go ahead. We do have a next set of players coming up. Who do we have? Who's coming up for match number 2?
I will grab that for you in just a moment. That is going to be Frugs versus Kata. Frugs, the Zerg player. Kata, a Protoss player that I got a little bit of inside info about some of his stuff, and he's got a lot of cool, very interesting stuff. He's always comes prepared for the map, and I know that he has done a lot of very specific preparation for this map number 2. And remember that his team did use the swap to get Rakshir in here.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Now, of course, Kata also is one of the few players that have played both weeks thus far. So this is his third week playing in this regular season, and he is the only player in this entire group that is 2-0. So he's won the first two groups, first 2 weeks. Pluto, of course, who's not playing, will be playing later, has also played 2 games, but he's 1-1. So Kata, light going off of MMR at the very least, appears to be the ringer. Light, of course, former GM, Masters 1 right now. But just by record thus far, Kata is the ringer here for Amazon. That they're putting him on their special map as well.
Yeah,
So.
anytime he's definitely a very preparation-based player, and yeah, anytime you can get that set up, yeah, it is going to be a definitely advantageous, and I think specifically all of these maps that kind of have the swap potential and kind of a little bit of weirdness, he is really going to excel.
Oh, absolutely. So, looking at Rakshir, just a minute, I think that was actually when I was not playing Starcraft all that much. What can you tell me about this map? What's going to make it special? What are kind of the things that Kata or Frogs can look to make use of? As again, this is a special map. It's been out of the rotation for a while. It was a GSL map.
It was a GSL map. It was actually, I'm pretty sure, exclusively a GSL map and did not make it into ladder. So we are going to have to see, because I actually am not particularly familiar with the map myself. I did not make the pick. This was actually the other individual Whisper who chose this map. So I'm a little bit less familiar with this one as well. So I'm looking forward to learning as we go type of thing. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so it looks like, looking at this here, there's a quick rush distance through the middle, but it is defended by rocks. So looks like a natural to natural does take a little bit of time before players are able to kill that off. Now, I'm excited, really, especially if you say Kata has some special tactics here.
Oh, yes.
Ready for, I'm excited seeing special tactics, seeing these crazy preparation builds. Always, that's the best part of Team Leagues. That's kind of why Pro League was so incredible. That's why the War Chest Team League was so fun, and that is why leagues like the CEA make me so happy.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Anytime, like you said, preparation comes into effect, it can definitely create a very interesting scenario. And I think that's where we're at right now. And in just a moment, we are going to get into the game.
Yeah, cannot be more excited. So, Steadfast. Actually, I'll ask this after we get to player introduction because we're loading in pretty quickly.
That we are. All right. Here we go, spawning down in the bottom right position of the map, wearing the clan tag All Inspiration, but representing the Facebook Zuckerzergs, it is the Blue Zerg player, Frogs.
And in the upper left, the ringer for Amazon Painforest, in the red, it's Kata.
And this is a very interesting build we're seeing come out of Frogs right now. He went 13-12. He is, it looks like to me, going to be going for a big Speedling flood.
Now, does he know that this is ZVP? It's not ZVZ. As I can't remember the last time I saw a 13-12 in a ZVP, but that being said, we're getting some craziness from both players. Now, with this cannon rush coming from Kata, 12 pool does not hard counter a cannon rush.
No, it does not.
Actually, Kata counters 12 pool. And this is an even more committed but slightly later pool, which of course means Zerglings are even later, which means you have even less of a chance to kind of deal with the cannon rush here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one works out.
Yeah, this is going to be a really weird scenario. There's going to be a lot of Lings already out. The first cannon has not even started yet. But 6 Lings are about to pop right now. Oh, and a big drone pull coming down. But there's not going to be any surface area. This is... I don't think this is going to be a great decision. It's going to come down to very close on the timing, though. Oh, going after that pylon will not work. He has to go after this one on the bottom right. And already Kata fully walling this in. And this is looking really good for the Protoss player.
And I gotta say, I also like how Kata, he has hidden his second probe out. Well, actually, where'd it go? Yeah. So it's hidden his second probe outside. And actually, the Zerglings of Frogs are just gonna run right by there as Kata decides, you know, get his wall up, make sure the counterattack does not kill. And now we have a cannon rush pushing in. A couple Zerglings across the map that are trying to get a counter attack that probably will not be able to get anything done. And this is not a great situation here for Frogs in the slightest.
No, this is a really rough one.
Yeah, especially with how long that rush distance is. So it's just taking forever for these Zerglings to make their way across the map. Yeah, they're getting there after the cannon gets there, and that is not a good feeling.
No, that is a horrible feeling right there. And oh, nice move from Kata right there. Getting the probe out of that little jail.
That was pretty sexy. So we do have Frogs going for Ravagers behind this, but he has not been mining gas through the entirety of this game, which of course means that, well, that makes life rather difficult for him. And interestingly enough, Kata, so there are two routes, well, there are three routes out of this. There's Cannon Rush to expand, there's Cannon Rush to do to go for Immortals, but there's this double gate cannon where you just build a bunch of Stalkers and you put so much pressure on before the Ravagers are out, before the Roaches are out. And if the player doesn't have to deal with it properly, it just becomes incredibly difficult to defend. And especially with this cannon crossfire here, it's going to be difficult indeed.
Yeah, you call it perfectly. A cannon crossfire. Anytime a Zergling gets on top of that Stalker, it is absolutely running into a meat grinder. Not going to be able to get anything much done. And, well, this Stalker has already canceled one of the spines for Frogs, and the first Roaches are just now popping out. This is just such a difficult situation for the Zerg.
Really like to see here Kata as he's moving in. He's targeting Roaches down, but of course Roaches can always be morphed into Ravagers, pending gas. But the Queens are actually a relatively important piece of this hold. They can transfuse, they allow the Zerg to get enough out of his production. And he has been targeting Roaches, kind of. He's been spreading damage equally among them, but I would really like to see him start to target down the Queens that exist here. Make life a little bit up. But he won't be able to get the Ravager to him, and that's nice. That is absolutely the kind of thing he needs to be able to do here, because Ravagers are what break him out of here.
Yeah, but he is already in such a Muay Thai clench right now, as Tasteless would say. One of these Ravagers is going to get picked off. Nice target fire from Kata, and he is so far ahead right now in this game, and I don't see any way for Frogs at this point to try and get out of this. He is trying to build up this Ravager count, but he can't even get it high, and one of the Queens will go down right there.
Yeah, what it always feels like here is when the Protoss gets in this position, I don't think I ever see, or I very rarely see a Zerg be able to break out of it. When the cannons are pushing, when the shield batteries are pushing, when there are enough Stalkers out, it just becomes, I'm not going to say impossible, but very difficult, not impossible for the Zerg to break out of. Now we have drones going down. We're gonna have the spine get targeted down, and the spine was never able to really get that multi-spine push that you sometimes Zerg see some Zergs do to be able to break out, and that's not gonna happen well. Frogs has to find something, but I don't really know what he will be able to find.
Yeah, no, this is going from bad to worse to terrible to awful to hellish. It is. This is just such a frustrating thing to deal with as a Zerg player, and like you said, once that high ground is breached, things go from being difficult to nigh impossible, and we're seeing every Ravager getting picked off. Finally, Frogs accepting his fate there and will tap out, but Kata, as you were saying, continues to pull the weight for his team. Now going 3-0 in the league and putting his team up 2-0.
The reign of terror commences for Kata, and that puts us on match point. Already, yes. We may not go to 5 games, we may not go to 4 games. Amazon's got one more attempt, or I should say Facebook has one more attempt to actually put a point on the board here, and keep us moving along.
Yeah, and it's going to be on a little bit of a trickier map right here. It is going to be on Merry-Go-Round.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting. And so, talking about this, Amazon is the first 2 players up. We're the only two players in this match this week that have actually won games. Kata, of course, was 2-0. Light won last week, did not play week 1. The rest of the players on Amazon's team thus far, they have not won a map.
Really?
Or else are 0-1, yeah. Um, because the third player that won a map in week 1 is not playing this week. So this is technically, theoretically, Facebook's opportunity here, as Pluto is 1-1 as well. So Pluto was that only other player that has played every week thus far. He won week 1, did not win week 2. So this is probably going to be maybe a little bit more of an equal matchup. Of course, preparation is key here, and we don't necessarily know what these players have ready for us.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see in just a little bit. So looks like we are going to be going with US West. Just want to make sure all of the players are happy with their servers. Anytime you can get that set up, ideally, yeah, you're creating a situation where everyone's just happy.
Oh yeah, and massive shout out to Blizzard for making it that much easier for us to pick servers with the most recent patch, or the second most recent patch, whatever it was, where you could actually go and, of course, when you host the map, you're able to select lobby there instead of going into settings and messing around with things. Makes life a lot easier. Made me so happy when I saw that change.
Really big quality of life change right there. That was a big game changer. Because before that, like you said, it was just a nightmare. You just kind of hoped. Sometimes you would change, like if you changed it after you made the lobby, I don't think it would affect it. And sometimes it wouldn't even actually acknowledge your choice. Like there was at least 1 or 2 times where I'd make a lobby and it'd be like, no, I don't want to do on the lobby that you've chosen.
That, and if you were in a party, it wouldn't work.
Yes.
A bunch of different stuff, a bunch of different hoops you had to jump through.
Yeah, but now that is all fixed. Thank you so much for giving us that QOL change.
Yeah, definitely makes running tournaments, all that kind of fun stuff, makes that so much easier. But of course, Merry-Go-Round is going to be our next map. Now, Merry-Go-Round is a fun map. We saw some incredible games on that. I think back to the player that shall not be named versus Innovation, back at the end of Heart of the Swarm, early Legacy of the Void. And it's kind of interesting because when you think of asynchronous maps, 4-player maps,
yes,
that is a specific setup. But this is a 3-player map, which means the Zerg is guaranteed to get a scout of their opponent's base every time, right? If they want to send the Overlords out in that old scouting pattern, whereas with 4v4 you would see where your opponent is, or at least where your opponent's not. So you know where the base is, but you don't get a scout of the base all that fast. You wouldn't get it in time to really get that key 4-odd minute tech timing.
Yeah. And that was why I think, map makers started moving away from that, as they were like, oh, well, the scouting's imperfect. And to be honest, I think we're at a point where creating situations where there's imperfect scouting can be a good thing. I think creating a little bit of variance, as long as it's not, the entirety of the game, I think that's a good thing. And, some people would disagree with me, but I've always been fond of keeping things fresh, and especially, there's early hallucination scouts, there's of course scans and reapers for scouting, there's overlord speed you can go for. There's ways of making up for it if you're willing to take, a small economic hit.
Yeah, but Starcraft, of course, is the game of imperfect information.
Exactly.
And going off of what you said, it's interesting. I have seen a discussion about removing the high ground pillars outside of the naturals of a couple of these bases, make it more difficult for Zerg to be able to scout what's in the wall, what's coming out of the wall. And we did see that a little bit with Death Aura, and I believe there's another map in the pool that has a fake Overlord position. I'm not sure I haven't played enough of the new maps yet.
I have not yet played any of the new maps, unfortunately, so I can't speak to that just yet. But I'm a little bit hesitant about that one because that one's a really big change. But I mean, we're not map makers just yet. But we are getting into game number 3. Spawning up in the top left position of Merry-Go-Round, it is the purple Zerg player from Amazon Painforest. Give it up for Shockwave.
And his opponent in the upper right, in the blue, playing for the Zuckerzerg, but not a Zerg, is Pluto.
Yes, and he is going to be going for this forward position here. Now, Merry-Go-Round, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the map at all, but it is, I'm a little bit surprised they chose a Protoss on this map. It's a little bit of a tough Protoss map. There's a lot of very wide open areas, lot of surface area at the natural, and just a very, very big base. Now, the one advantage of a very big base is it's easier to hide tech. But I don't know if that outweighs all of the kind of difficulties of this map. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think what we ever going to see from Pluto here, I don't think we're going to see a third base. I think this is more likely going to be some sort of 2-base timing, because man, it is just so much space around any prospective third here for the Protoss to take. It's going to be so difficult for him to hold it, for him to keep it, and even if he gets 3 bases, getting onto that 4th base, same deal. Now, interestingly enough, as we do talk about these 3 and 4 player maps, both players unable to scout their opponent rather early on, both players choosing the wrong position. The law of averages did not rule in their favor there.
And despite not getting that info, Pluto's still going for the Nexus before Cybernetics score. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, now he's going to be able to get in, but at this point, there's no chance for hatch block. He will notice that this is not the Korean style of ZVP. You don't see that 1920 hatch. So Shockwave going to go for something maybe a little bit more standard. But in all honesty, I mean, this is a decently wide ramp. There is that breakable rocks there. I would not be surprised to see kind of the Armani, the way Armani likes to play, where he gets to like 21 workers, drops his 3rd base at a normal timing, and he just spams speedlings and moves across the map at like 315, hits with about 30 speedlings at 330, and just tries to break the wall down. Is because, again, how close these bases are together, and how decently wide open the natural is. There's a good amount of stuff. The destructible rocks only had 400 HP.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you can actually baneling bust the rocks, and that is a viable thing to do. And then if you attack the rocks, they can't be healed by a shield battery. They can't be repaired. That HP is just gone.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. But of course, we do see Pluto getting a little bit cheeky here with a power block. Man, he's gonna try to do it. No, he's not. Okay, he's gonna send the probe. It looked like he was almost gonna go try to and block that again, but he's not gonna be that cruel. And behind this, Pluto is going for a bunch of links on the way. Pluto's going for a Stargate, and he should have an Oracle out in time. Man, Pluto's getting greedy behind this, dropping extra gases that quickly.
Yeah, that is pretty quick. Ooh, Void Ray first. Starting to see a lot more Void Rays in the, just the Protoss playbook. Not even in a specific matchup. They're just becoming much more powerful and much more prevalent. But, ooh, as you were talking about, it is going to be a Speedling flood off of 23 workers. Normally, yeah, you see this off of like 19 or so. But this is going to be a little bit later. And will hit with a lot of punch.
Yeah, now the scary thing is, Garby, the Void Rays are great at defending just about everything except for this build here. You want to know, Oracle here is a whole lot better. Sure, Void Rays do continuous DPS. They just don't kill Zerglings, all that background. The Zerglings will be able to get in. They will get here before the warp gate is done. So that is, of course, a boon for Pluto. He can build units that much faster. But the question is whether he can sustain this extremely committed attack. There's not a whole lot of secondary wall here coming for anything. But there we go. With a couple more gates, it looks like he may be able to get that secondary and do it enough.
Yeah, I think he's done a pretty good job so far. Oh, I thought that was a whole wall. It was not.
The shield will now overcharge. We'll keep everything alive for the moment, but will not keep itself alive. And now with the Oracle out, maybe that's gonna be enough. Now the probes are full. He's committed here. Pluto, it's hold or not. And it looks like he's gonna be able to hold.
Oh man, that was actually so insanely close. That sentry somehow stayed alive forever. It felt like.
But hold number 1 is done. The Oracle is out of energy, and attack number 2 is ongoing. And there's a hole in the wall. There is no unit sitting, unless this is a full wall.
I think this is a full wall. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
But that gateway is not at full HP, and it is getting torn down pretty quickly. Okay, Pluto will re-wall behind this. Ooh, no cancel. That's a little bit costly. Shockwave, by the way, has droned up behind this, and he is now ahead on the worker count. So Pluto not building workers as frequently as he could be. And of course, you can't really fault that. This is a very high-stress situation, but he could actually be ahead like 6 or 7 workers still if he was really, really on point with this. But that being said, he's going for charge now.
Yeah, this is interesting. He had Glaives going for a little bit. cancel it to be able to get enough defense out. I believe to get that second Oracle. And now he's going, now he's going charge behind this. Interestingly enough, he's still mining out of 3. I believe he's still mining out of 3 gas, unless he's pulled out. Yeah, so he's starting to pull out of his gas just a little.
Oh, quite a bit actually, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna see a bunch more gates go down, and this is just going to be. It's not a Marjorie. It's not quite that. Again, there's no Robo here, but this is just a void. This is the void ray charge level, and that I've seen a little bit for us start using. Generally, it's off 2 base as it is here, and it's just going to target this down. The void ray should be able to get it before. Okay, no, Sport's going to force them to back up and have the Queen Sphere. They can't make that. But there are a lot of chargeless that are about to be here, and there is no Roach Warren as of yet.
No, it is quite late, and in fact, we're seeing a Hydra Den come down from Shockwave. Shockwave not really playing the scenario per se. Oh my god, 10 drones being built right now, and well, I'm feeling like Pluto is definitely going to be able to get something done here. Shockwave not really respecting the fact that his opponent's only on 2 bases.
Absolutely. Well, the good thing here for Shockwaves, he will see these Zergling or these Chargelets on the way, which means he's not going to build any Hydras. He's not going to be high building defense, which of course would be disastrous. But now there's still a lot of Chargelets, and there's just not a lot of army, and I really like this. We do see the Stasis Ward going down here, so any sort of Ling Roach surround will be immobilized, will be prevented from happening at all, and the third base now under pressure.
Oh, a little bit sloppy, unfortunately, losing that Oracle, but he is going to catch a lot of units popping out from the Zerg player and going to be able to chase this Queen down. A lot of drones will escape, but this hatch is dead for sure.
Absolutely. Now, we do have a Zergling counterattack moving on into the natural of Pluto, but of course, it's a full wall. The result of dealing with that early attack, and it's just going to be sentries that are warped in. That's not actually the best thing at all. Now, the Chargelets will be able to get on top of everything, and these Treacheries are going to have to be incredible. Shockwave is to hold, and they are pretty good, but there's just not enough here. 14 workers going down there. GG Pluto and taking it back. We have a series on our hands, my friend.
Yes, we do. Not going down without a fight, and as you mentioned, Amazon's looks like their 2 strongest players going out first, and well, all of a sudden, we're now heading to map 4, and it is going to be a TVT, and well, there's an opportunity to send it to the ace match.
Absolutely, and I know nothing about Fug, actually. I don't know whether he was 0-1 or whether he hasn't played yet. Of course, Front Stab. Now, Front Stab did win last week, did not play week 1. So again, he's one of Facebook's, well, they're one of their well-performing players for the most part. But this is, of course, TVT. TVT is a weird matchup, especially below the highest tier of professional play. See
yes.
a lot of one-base builds.
Yeah, it's a weird matchup because even at the highest level of play, it's so messy because it always feels like in TVT, whenever I watch good players stream or play or whatever, it feels like it's really hard to deal with a macro lead in TVT. Like when an opponent gets a lead in macro, because for a lot of it, you're just spamming out Marines and tanks. So the macro itself is relatively simple. So you may, take a good fight defensively, but then all of a sudden another 60 Marines and 4 tanks show up, and it's like you just kind of get drowned in blood. It feels like such a slugfest matchup, I guess, is what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's also one of those weird matchups where the supply almost doesn't matter. I mean, it does, and macro leads do matter, but when tanks are such an indomitable defensive line, that I got 30 extra Marines. Does that really matter if you're fighting within the tank zones? I mean, yes, but also if they're just enough tanks, I mean, the Marines just explode.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where if you got an opponent turtling and just kind of content on they know they're behind and they're going to just do what they can to make their way back, well, that's going to be difficult. It's not one of those, I got the head, I got the lead, I can actually make something happen with it. I can actually just go in the game every time.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not like those other matchups per se. Like you said, it's a little bit more calculated, and you have to kind of grind your opponent down, and you got to be a lot more careful, which does make for a lot more volatility. And if your Marines aren't on hold position, all of a sudden 25 of them get baited into a couple of tank volleys, and you lose 25 Marines. And it's just, and that's kind of what you were talking about a little bit. The below highest level of play can get really, really messy.
And even at the highest level play, again, it's one of the things I see the most variance. I mean, when we were doing King of Battles this last weekend, previous weekend, I mean, Clem versus Marine Lord, even though Clem's not the best at TVT, you would think that match would go one-sided. You know, it'd go relatively quickly. Clem would go kill him, move on, even if Marine Lord is back on the up and up. But these were two 25-minute games because it was just almost impossible for one player to kill the other. I mean, Clem won both, as expected, but the game stretched. It was so hard for one player to kill the other. And that's what you saw. And I'm really interested to see what we're going to see here on Bridgehead. Now we talk about things. Bridgehead, of course, when we're talking about the theme of this map, Bridgehead was under the non-standard or challenge match under that category. And why exactly is that, Steadfast?
Well, we'll talk about this a little bit as we get into the game. Spawning down in the bottom right position of Bridgehead, it is the Yellow Terran player Front Stab, representing Facebook Gaming. The Zuckerzerg's trying to bring it back.
And in the upper left, in the red, trying to just take him all the way home, it's Noodle, otherwise known as Fug.
So Bridgehead, one of those maps that this was prominently in the ladder when tank drop was a thing, when you could drop siege tanks in those tank-evacs and they could stay sieged up and fire, and it was incredibly powerful. Now, there was so much weirdness about this map. So if you look at the backdoor rocks, a lot of Zerg players would go for stuff like a proxy hatchery and then build some spine crawlers and break those rocks down. And you would have stuff like just a ton of Zergling run-bys to do with. You had these rocks at the front, similar to what we had on Merry-Go-Round. There was just a lot of weirdness about this map.
Yeah, absolutely. A weird map leads to interesting games. Now, what we do see here is we do see Noodle going, I believe that's a second gas, going for two gas opening here. Wants to be probably a little bit more aggressive. Front Stab going for that more macro opening. We're gonna see an expand after the Reaper here. And TVT does have that dichotomy. Do you go gas first? Do you go double gas? Or do you go for a bit more of a macro play? And we're seeing that here. As Front Stab is arguably favored just a little. He was Masters 1 last season. Noodle was Masters 3.
Yeah, and it is important to note, even expanding on this a little bit further, how aggressive do you get when you go for the double gas? Do you just go straight up into that factory and then go cut a couple of SCVs off of mining off the gas? Or do you do what Noodle is now doing, which is continue to mine gas and go for that very heavily committed one-base play? There's a lot of options, and it can be a little bit tricky to scout in TVT. And, well, we'll have to see if Noodle is going to be able to get too much damage done, or if Front Stab is going to be able to shut this down. Of course, he does take that back in-base expand, but you can't always ferry units over these rocks.
Yeah, I do kind of like that, especially when you see a lot of with these one-base pushes, you see a tank and a Liberator, for example. You kind of see them do that double siege up there. And that backside rocks actually hold that thought. The Reaper is going... Okay, the Reaper will be able to just barely get out. Yeah,
Oof.
on what, 2 HP? Oh,
yeah.
That's close. Thank you, Regen. But with the back rocks there, that looks like an incredible position to be able to do that tank Liberator leapfrog. As, of course, the tank sieges behind, Marines get dropped on the other side of the wall, it defends the tank defends the Marines, Liberator sieges up, and you keep going forward and put that natural into a chokehold that you cannot always do.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit tricky to deal with, I think. Like you said, oh no, Noodle getting supply blocked a little bit, but not for very long. We'll start up that Liberator.
The power of the Terran macro abilities. Of course, Mule, very powerful. You'll see people complain about, the Terran lost 20 SCVs, they still have Mules. You know, whether or not that's a valid complaint, I mean, all players have different macro, or all races have different macro abilities. But of course, that final one is that they can make their supply be worth more supply. Which of course can be a blessing and a curse. As we do see the 3 Reaper 2 Hellion move that has been decently popular over the last little bit, but people not really going to be able to get in. Just try to do what they can to do some damage, to shell away at things, to make the following any sort of pressure just hit that much harder. And that is one thing that is nice about this map. That when you take your low ground command center, well, your quote-unquote low ground command center, it is pretty safe and it's defended by one more. Oh, that Reaper grenade. Okay, it's gonna be fine. But that was almost pretty unfortunate. I don't know how much I agree with Noodle pulling that much though.
Yeah, that
That's a
was
lot
an
of luck money.
overreaction, and he's already suffering a lot of damage here. 2 SCVs to a Reaper that was only meant to scout. That's pretty unfortunate, but this Liberator is going to come in and try and get something done and distract at the back while the attack comes in at the front.
Yeah, so Noodle, he's going to find it difficult to bust through here. Actually, but we don't see a lot of reaction coming from front step on the back step. But there we go. Now we have a Cyclone. Cyclone should just be able to do things. And Quadra is going to be able to kill off all these Marines pretty easily. Surprisingly enough. And now the Reapers, they get on into the main base. But with this auto turret, really should be able to get a ton done. Yeah, with the Marines here too. The Reapers will go down. They won't get 2 SCVs, but 2 SCVs is not the end of the world when you're up 10.
Yeah, that was nowhere near enough damage for Noodle right there. And Front Stab is really far ahead right now. Not only is he ahead, as you said, in workers, he's actually up in army supply by a pretty significant amount. And Noodle, he's going to have to do something to try and make up for this. Oh, man, his command center just finished. And, yeah, just now turning into an orbital. Oh, this is a really rough spot.
That is not a good situation to be in at all. Now he is going for a couple extra barracks off of that pressure. He has shown that he wants to be as aggressive as possible. But again, I mean, sure, you're going to have that extra production kick in what? A minute? In 2 minutes? The scary position is now, although we don't see front stab really looking like he wants to move across the map. Well, hold on. As I say that, he's going to start moving across the map. Cast a cursive, right?
Yeah.
And this is going to be a terrifying push coming from front step here. It looks like he wants to go on the upper side, so he's going to go siege up on those rocks like you were talking about.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult position to deal with. Like, you can often find yourself just really bashing your head against the wall trying to break that.
Now, the one key thing here is there are no medevacs on the field for our gold Terran player as of yet, so he's not going to be able to jump or to lift over. So I think what we're going to get, he's just going to go siege the tanks up and then burst that wall down. I say burst, but it's those are some pretty tanky drums. A lot of armor, a lot of HP. It's going to take just a little bit of time.
Yeah, but fortunately these are not Zerglings attacking them. The tanks do, of course, get that big burst damage, so they will be able to mostly ignore the armor, and the first set of rocks does go down pretty quickly. And just now, Noodle is realizing what has happened. Oh man, this is a big problem, and he is not going to be able to deal with this very easily.
Now, what I will say is front step wasting a decent amount of his DPS. He's targeting down the command center instead of, well, trying to get on top of the mineral line or do something like that. But front step, he has the Viking lead on top of things. Now with these auto turrets here, this is an untouchable situation for Noodle to really get into. That being said, he's done a pretty good job at equalizing the supply count, and if he's able to break this out, he's not going to be in too bad of a spot. Well, as I say that, he only has +1 on the way. It's 1-1 on the way for front stab. I believe Stim is done. Yeah, Stim is done for a red Terran.
Yeah, he's gone for a very committed two-base play. Noodle has the 5 racks here, whereas front stab has gone up to a 3rd command center. So that's why the supplies have equalized a little bit. Is Noodle's production has come online a little bit faster, but front stab still keeping the pressure on and getting a nasty position to deal with on these tanks. Oh man, a lot of SCVs are going to pay the price. 7 already going down, make it 8. And, well, this is just pretty disastrous right now.
Actually, front stab so confident in himself that he's sending some of his army home, or at least to rally together. And interesting, you notice front staff going forward with those Vikings. Now, whether that's a misclick or whether that's intentional, I don't really know. But the happy side effect is pull Marines of Noodle forward because they're not in hold position. So now they're going to go, and then they just, of course, get eviscerated by the tanks. And this is absolutely a position that Noodle will not be able to defend for the time being. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see him just try to take the base from the low ground to move his command center down just to the 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock position. And there we do have it. The command center is on its way, but that is a slow journey that it's going to take.
Oh, and he just accidentally sent... I think he must have sent it back by accident? On a rally, possibly? I'm not sure. Yes, he did send it on a rally. Oh, big stim coming out, though, from Noodle, as he is going to try and break this position. We'll be able to grab a couple of tanks on the retreat. Front stab, unfortunately, on attack command, so one of those tanks does aggro back into that. But he's still going to be able to get a good number of Marines, both Ravens, and a 3rd tank away from this.
Yeah, and of course we do see Noodle with a Actually, so which is more impactful? Is it combat shields or is it +1? I'm actually not
Combat
throwing
shields, I
math on
think,
that.
would be a little bit more impact. Oh man, Marines fire so fast though.
Oh,
Oh,
CEA couple in here from Noodle, and that is a massive tank shot.
oh, and
Still
front
SMGs,
stab. He is going to catch his opponent completely unsieged, and he is going to take out the entire army of Noodle. And Noodle, getting absolutely blindsided, will be forced to tap out right there. Front stab is going to send it to that ace match.
Every bit the series that we were promised going in here. You know, it's the marquee matchup. It's the top 18 versus the runner-up from last season. Both of them are undefeated. Both of them won their preseason game. And yeah, they're taking us to an ace match. No player, no team giving up that easily. So we've seen 4 games. We're having an ace match coming up. Ace match, of course, will be on Eternal Empire. What do you think we're going to see here? From who are we going to see? Who are we going to see each team send out to be that ace to say, look, I'm going to put my trust in you. I want to go 3-0.
Oh, that is going to be tough. I have some ideas. I won't. Well, actually, oh, one of them is I will say I'm a little bit surprised. A little bit surprised by the first pick. No, well, not necessarily surprised, but I would have maybe expected a different player. But I do have the ace match for Amazon Painforest. And for Facebook, I'm probably thinking we'll see most likely one of the players that won. But my guess would probably be front stab, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. Just going based off of MOR, to my memory, front stab, he's Masters 1. He looked, as far as I can tell, he's the kind of the highest skill level player on that team, which is an interesting strategic decision. If you think about it, put who you believe is your best player as your final player in the series, which means that they're not guaranteed to play should you get swept. Now, of course, we have confidence we're not going to get swept, but if you want your best players to play, you kind of front load them, you would think. That is certainly what we saw Amazon go do, where they put their best 2 players in, as far as I can tell, the terms of best performing, took those in their first 2 matches. They said, look, these are our ringers. We want to make sure that they get to play. We want to make sure we get those 2 maps, regardless of what happens.
And yeah, no, you definitely want to make sure that you're picking an opportunity where those players can play. But conversely, if you are expecting to maybe go to the ace match, it might be a good idea to, well, I mean, of course you can have to play the maps anyways, but it might be a good idea to put your suspected ace player as your 4th match, because then they get the chance to warm up and immediately go into another map off of a win, potentially. And that's, I wonder if the kind of thought went into that, or if it was just like, this is a good Terran map, we're putting our Terran here.
Yeah, that may be something to do with it.
A little too big
Use
brain.
their swap, because I believe only one team used their swap this week. I don't know. Do you know which team? Because only one map was swapped. Do you know whether it was Facebook or Amazon that swapped Rakshurin?
It was Amazon.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, they did have that. They did have that cannon rush set up for Kata there. Interesting. I find it interesting that Facebook didn't make use of any of their swaps, or make use of their swap in this series at all.
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. Like, it's a really valuable thing, and specifically this week more than any other week, I think it's been a really valuable tool, or would have been. But yeah, we don't end up seeing it, which is surprising to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially, I mean, when you had an Overgrowth versus Echo, right? I think that's definitely something where Facebook could have said, you know what, Overgrowth. Well, okay, it's easy to get to the 3 Zerg bases. Maybe the 3rd's a little bit too wide open. Kind of hard to take that 4th. Echo is an incredibly choked up map. I think that's useful, or whatever the case may be. I'm just kind of looking at the maps that maybe they would have wanted to use their swap on, because they didn't. Those are the maps they lost. But we got a lobby ready for our ace players. So is it okay to announce who that is yet, or are we still waiting?
Yes, yeah, we can announce who it is. Yeah.
All right.
So it is going to be. Well, no, you can say it. You're in the thing. Yeah, of course, you can say it.
Go ahead. So and I agree, this is incredibly surprising. Our ace players are going to be Kata versus Front Stab. Front Stab, of course, you correctly predicted. That makes a lot of sense. Front Stab, he looks good, highest MMR player. But Kata, I mean, he's 3-0. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we saw Cannon. We don't know a lot. I think that's really. We don't know a lot about Kata. We know he hit a cannon. We know he hit a cannon rush against the Zerg.
I know a little bit about Kata, and I can definitely see why they made the choice. But I would have expected Light, to be honest. I was thinking that Kata is definitely a preparation-based player, and Eternal Empire is a very, very much standard map, and it's been in the pool for so long. So I feel like you probably want to put a standard player, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, again, Light, he's the former GM. I mean, that's what I was expecting. I'm kind of alluding to it and just expecting to wait for that point. But yeah, I mean, he is that preparation-based player. And I wonder whether they have. I mean, I think it was kind of obvious just based off of who the players are and MMR and everything, who Facebook was going to have as their ace. So I wonder whether Kata has something planned here. He's look, if we're going to ace, I'm gonna snipe Front Stab. I'm gonna have something ready for it.
I hope so. That would make me so happy.
No, I don't think it's going to be cannon shenanigans. Again, it's against the Terran. Terran can just kind of lift and move. But we saw, who is it? Prince just almost beat Marit with Cannon Rush, so certainly it's not outside of the range of possibility there.
Yeah, and no, it's really strong, in fact. Like, you still can definitely go for Cannon Rush. But, well, we're going to be getting into game number 5, the ace match here. Spawning up in the top right position of Eternal Empire, it is the blue Protoss player. Give it up for Kata, representing Amazon Painforest as their ace.
And the bottom left, in the gold, the potential savior of the Facebook Zuckerzergs, it's the gold Terran, it's Front Stab.
And I'm not sure if you noticed, but this pylon was thrown down at 12 supply from Kata. That means that he cut a probe in order to get this down as quickly as possible. And, well,
That's going to be double gas before. So we're going to see, talking about special builds, talking about secret strats. Well, are you excited for the Void Rays that are going to be oncoming here?
I am.
That's what we're going to see.
I am super sure that that's what we're going to see as well, and I am pretty excited about it. Void Rays have been so powerful. So powerful in the current meta. And why don't you talk a little bit about some of the Void Ray play we've seen?
All right, so there are kind of two ways you see this happen. First, number one, so Front Stab will see this. He sees the double gas, he sees the cyber for timing. There are two approaches. The one is kind of what Harding was doing when the patch happened, when he beat up on Innovation. And that is, you just keep building Void Rays. You keep building shield batteries, you keep building Void Rays, you target everything down, you keep going. But there's a really intriguing, and I know Steadfast, I believe you cast these games as well, that players like Dominus have started using, where you only go up to about 2 Void Rays, you get a Phoenix afterwards, you drop down 2 more gates, and it's actually a 3-gate all-in that has a little bit of sky cover on top of it. And those are 2...
Sorry, go on. Yes, this is fully walled in. That was the...
That's a little bit problematic there. Because of course you need those shield batteries, and more importantly, you need to be pushing the shield batteries at the natural too. And Front Stab knows that this is coming. He knows something is coming. And notice he didn't have that SCV there scouting, but the Stargate is in such a way that he's not going to see it. It's out enough away from the edge that it's not going to be a big deal. And now Front Stab, he's a natural on the way instead of just dropping that factory. It's difficult. Incredibly difficult when you kind of go that early command center against this proxy Void Ray build.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Oh, there we go. Front Stab finally scouting this. We'll see that it's those proxy Void Rays. And we've seen a lot of... Kata, there we go. Hell yeah, brother.
You can tell Kata rushes a lot of cannons because he's got all the squeezes. He's got all the squeezes memorized.
That's a good way of putting it, the squeezes.
That was pretty cool.
And, well, one of the very important ways of holding this is a very, very fast factory and tech lab with a the Megfield accelerator upgrade. but that factory was not down as maybe quickly as it could have been.
That, and even more importantly than that, I think kind of balancing that out a little. Sure, we have Void Rays on the way, and Void Rays are incredibly powerful, but the shield batteries are so late compared to where they wanted to be, because that probe is locked in. That the nice pressure that these Void Rays are going to be able to put on early, they can't start cycling in and out until just about right now. And they're a decent amount of Marines. Cyclones are on the way, and the Terran has not been supply blocked. Generally, you see the Terran kind of capped at 36, 38 supply, because they lose both of their supply depots, and that just has not happened yet.
Yeah, and that's a really big deal. Now, this is interesting. We're not seeing Mega Field Accelerator. We're, in fact, seeing a reactor on this starport for additional Vikings. Nice snipe on one of those Marines. Very good micro coming out of Kata, utilizing these Void Rays. Oh, there we go. First lock-on coming down. Not going to get much of anything done.
And on top of that, we are seeing the more gateway-heavy all-in style here from Kata, but from Kata, but it's a bit of a different story, right? We talked about 3-gate with maybe a Twilight as that one thing that Protoss will do. We'll see that it's the mass commitment to Void Ray, and this is both. It's only 2 gates, but Warp Gate was and actually it just completed.
Oh!
Target down the Cyclone, and that's just going to go down. But trading a Cyclone for Void Ray, I don't know how I feel like that when we're going to see reactive Vikings on the way. Oh.
Oh, there we go. This time the Cyclone will be kept alive. I think losing each individual Cyclone is really problematic because they're so important to your defense. And finally, we are going to see these supply depots at the front start to get taken out. Front stab, though, he's not going to be supply blocked. He's been building depots in the back behind us.
Yep, he knows what's coming here. It's interesting to see how Terrans are starting to react to this. They kind of killed the ladder for a bit, like of course we are starting to see Terran understand to get used to it. Now we have our first set of Vikings out. Not a ton though, only 2. And looks like actually Front Stab has given up on Cyclones in their entirety, and now is building tanks out of there to be able to deal with the mass gateway that is coming. I see where he's coming from, because this is turning into almost as much of a gateway all-in as it is a Void Ray all-in. But this is continued Void Ray production. We're not seeing the Phoenix play, we're not seeing the 3rd gate added on. This is still very much about the Void Rays with gateways, with the gateway units, kind of almost as a corollary, an add-on. That's something that make it a little bit more powerful. But again, this is the Void Ray story.
Yeah, and their ability to take down tanks once they turn on that prismatic alignment is going to be a really big problem for Front Stab. But he is doing a really good job of buying time, of playing carefully, and of still holding on against his opponent. Kata is starting to get to the position where he should be starting to think of this as a contain where he gets damage done and not a game-ending move. Oh, and he's going to lose one of those Void Rays there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure at this point whether the south side or whether the bottom of the map or the top of the map is the Protoss' base, because I'm pretty sure there are more buildings on the bottom side of the map. Just going to throw that out there. And we only have 3 Void Rays on the map right now. That's not a ton. But he's lost. Yeah, he's lost 2. And now there is we're hitting that Viking count where maybe it's going to be scary. Maybe it's going to be scary for Kata. Now we have Stim on the way too. Oh, that's a little cheeky. That's when you see when I see a proxy base like that, I guess that makes sense. Generally, I see the proxy the base even closer because they want to be able to kind of defend and attack at the same time.
Yeah, I wouldn't have actually hated almost expanding to the natural, but the thing is, once it's so tricky because like a tank can hit the natural from the main, and as it is, we're already seeing a tank start to go to town on one of these shield batteries right here. Oh, the Void Rays. No, that is not the play. You're not going to be able to get in on those Vikings. The count is just too high.
Exactly. So the question, of course, is if he did take that natural, at what point is it worth it, right? So a Nexus is what, 450 to 500 minerals. So you mine that in X amount of time, and of course you're not really. It's not worth it at that point. At what point you said, look, even if I do lose this base, and maybe I lose some probes with it, at what point is it worth it to deny the Terran that much potential to come into the game, especially with how mules work?
Oh.
What is this? Okay, was this a hidden base that was trying to go to the right-hand side that got caught?
It is exactly that. And that is really unfortunate right there for Front Stab. That is actually really costly because he's nearly mined out from some of his mineral patches in the main base.
mining at a only mining efficiency off of 14 mineral patches, or at 14 workers instead of 16. But he has a scary army, and if he's able to get rid of these shield batteries as he is right now with the tanks, there is the opportunity for him to push across the map and kill. A nice play actually there from Kata. Notice I believe he recalled a decent amount of his probes from his, recalls on cooldown.
Yeah.
Recalled a decent amount of his probes from his natural, or from his main tube. If you know this is natural, it's far from the natural position to expand, but regardless, the second base.
Yeah, Kata ending up losing a ton of resources in these buildings, but he is still trading technically efficiently because of how much he was able to kill from Front Stab earlier on. But now Front Stab has broken out of his base. Oh, this is an interesting move right here. This is a very cool one.
Well, he knows that his opponent only has one orbital at the moment. He assumes there's going to be a second command center, but that's not a lot of scans, especially because as soon as Front Stab takes his natural or whatever he takes, well, he's going to be dropping mules like anything to be able to try to recoup that economy. And, well, when you don't have scans, that's a problem. But actually, Front Stab, as you so adroitly point out with your observing there, well, hold that thought, we have the Pro player running in and just going to lose a couple of warriors, lose a decent amount of his army, not really trade all that effectively at all. And by drawing himself back to where he has these extra shield batteries, he's going to reveal the fact that there is, in fact, a base there. But anyway, as I was saying, and you observed so well, there's a missile turret in the main base. The DTs are going to struggle to get something done, at least in the main.
And I think Kata just really let this game go right there. He took an incredibly bad fight and lost so much. Does get some nice force fields there, but Stim is done. Most of the Void Rays have gone down. Battery Overcharge is used, and there's not much medevac energy to heal up these Marines, but there is just so many of them. He's up, how much? 50 army supply nearly.
Yeah, he has not lost a lot of anything. He's lost buildings, he's lost the depots, but he's not lost a lot of the units that he has here in this game. That being said, he's not mining. He's mining out of he's mining efficiently with 4 workers right now. And so he won't be able to take that natural, but the 2 DTs are now warping in. And that's a scary, scary thought. As a scan in the front has only just now been used. How many scans do we have on the map?
That was it. That's the only scan, actually. And so we could see a scenario where this turns into a very, very funky base trade. Kata, though, is going to have to be really careful with his unit retention. And, yeah, no, if, oh, man, there's going to be no detection, like, at all. This orbital just now being constructed.
So, I think the play here, actually, for Front Stab, he's going to go, and he's going to build a missile turret the natural, I hope. But I think the play here is, honestly, you build a missile turret on your front lines. That is absolutely the play. Now, the DTs, they're going to go in, and he will be able to cancel this missile turret. It was not started immediately. So now the economy of Front Stab is absolutely in the tank. And actually, this is pretty cool. He sent a couple of Vikings over to make sure that he's able to go on the main. But the scan here is going to be able to get both of these. The Citizen's Arrest.
That was a big play right there. And, yeah, these Vikings are going to obliterate these probes in a matter of seconds. Oh, nice job. Oh, no, it's a Zealot. I thought it was warping in a DT right there. Wow, look at the battery overcharge go to work on that. Oh, my God. That is just comical.
Oh, and he lifts up right as the Zealot would be able to survive. But, of course, he has to deal with this fight at the front. Who has the better economy at this point? Yeah. The Protoss economy going back down to equal. Both players mining just about the same amount. And that's a crazy lot to talk about this game.
Yeah, this is so bizarre. Kata is doing an excellent job of keeping himself in this game. +1 weapons will be finished up, by the way. And Marines with combat shields and +1 are going to be so powerful right now.
And of course, Front Stab, he has not built a single worker after he lost all that. He is all in here. He's just trying to make sure he has what he needs, has the scans that he needs to be able to make this happen. There goes. Scan number 1's going to go down. No Dark Templar will die, and that's massive. Shield Battery is doing their job here. But now the Terran has an excellent position here onto the natural, onto the second base of Kata. The Pros are going to go down. Scan number 2 is going to go down. These Dark Templar are all going to go down, and there is no supply left. He is supply blocked, so we're only going to see 1 Dark Templar on the map. That one thing that Kata can use to hold, well, it's only one of them, and there should be enough scans by the time that Front Stab moves on to the Protoss side of the map.
Yeah, he's even already got 1 banked up. He's got another 2 that are about to be ready. And, well, Kata's expansion is very, very late. He did recall out those probes. Oh, look at this. Wow. I actually like this a lot if he can get up like a couple of DTs, but I don't think front stab's going to give him the time, and I think we are going to see the Terran player go for a push that should just be way too much to deal with for the Protoss player, but maybe Kata can pull off a miracle.
Ooh, kind of going with the double forge there. I don't know if he quite realizes the situation he's in.
That's not the play.
I do like the fact he was able to get rid of the rocks outside of his natural, so that's going to make life a little bit more difficult for him to, or make it a little bit easier for him to make a hold. But now with the Dark Tempo running into the natural, it will be detected, will be killed off, and that's a pretty significant resource expenditure for Kata here when both players' economies are so low. But of course, one scan will be used already, just to make sure he's okay. And that means there's only 1 to 2 scans left on the map.
No, there's actually 3, or 2 about to be 4. And yeah, Kata needed to be forcing those scans out on the way across the map. Unfortunately, wasn't able to do so. Shadow Stride will be finished up in just a moment, but the DT is getting taken out very quickly. They will jump on the tanks, but well, ooh, actually out of scan range right there. Blink, not off cooldown. And that DT will go down, and I think that was Kata's last hope right there. There are so many Marines with Stim right here. Oh, nice. Actually, wow, that was not exactly a nice blink. Ends up going on top of the Viking, and unfortunately will be forced out of that game. Front Stab is going to be able to do it for his team here. And, well, that was very well done by Front Stab from a really difficult scenario.
Absolutely. Facebook flipping the script from last season, going instead from getting knocked out of the round of 8. I don't believe it was Amazon that knocked them off, but Amazon didn't make their way to the finals, and Facebook said, you know what? It's a new season. It's a new calendar season too. It's now time for us to show ourselves for the dominant force that we are. And they're able to take out Amazon Painforest in a tightly contested 3-2 best of 5. Those are some pretty cool games, Steadfast.
They were some very interesting games, yeah. Sorry, just going to message some of the team captains, see if we can get an interview.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see the different styles of play from both players. We saw some incredibly aggressive stuff from Kata. We saw some more macro-oriented stuff from Front Stab, and it's always really cool when you see those. That you get the really aggressive, the really cheesy player against the more defensive, the more macro player, and see that collision of styles. Because sometimes, I mean, you see Haas, for example, the cheesy player. I mean, they played more cheese than the macro players defended the cheese, and they've done their one specific thing, and they're going to be able to steamroll through it. But sometimes the player is just able to play defensively enough that they're able to do that. And so seeing that collision of styles is sometimes even more interesting than see just that long macro game, because it's like watching. It's like you get to watch 2 different games in one. Will the player be able to break? Will the player be able to defend? Not is it a push and pull, heave and hoe, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just still figuring stuff out. Real quick, looks like we might not be able to get one with Facebook, but we are going to be able to get an interview with Shockwave.
That's exciting.
All right, so I'm just going to bring him onto the call in just a moment.
Okay, so I believe is Kata the captain of Amazon Painforest, or is it Shockwave?
No, Shockwave is actually.
Okay, had me fooled because of course, of the 8 players that were playing today, Kata is the only player that is using the clan tag of their company.
Yes, yeah,
so.
Yeah. It can definitely throw you off a little bit. Just one sec.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm alright.
Tough
Obvi-
loss there. Sorry to yeah bring you on, but
Yeah, yeah. No,
thanks
no,
for
that's all
joining
right.
us. So we're just gonna interview you solo real quick, as unfortunately, yeah, just gotta get stuff more organized for that. But
Sure.
yeah, so tell me about tell me about the team a little bit. I am once again, by the way, joined by Shockwave.
Um, cool. Yeah. So there's the players today. There was myself, Light, Kata, and Noodle. Amazon has a lot of teams. They're all pretty strong. I think we're a pretty solid team. I mean, we're 2-0 going into today. We took today to an ace match as well. Um, yeah. So we've been going all right. We have another member who's White Ra who's moving today.
Ooh.
So he couldn't join us to play, but we're hoping he'll be playing next week.
It's a little bit tough, but that's cool that you'll be able to come back a little bit, maybe stronger next week. So is this your first year with Amazon Painforest?
For me, yeah, it's my first year playing in the CEA. I've been at the company for a couple of years, playing Starcraft for a lot longer. I didn't really realize this was a thing. But no, I think within the team though, um, at least Kata's been playing for a few years. But then for the rest of us, it's all of our first year playing, not just at Painforest, but for Amazon teams in general. So yeah, we're hoping to make an impact and win some games.
Awesome. So I was just actually going to ask, what's your guys' goal for the season? What's a success for you guys?
I mean, I don't. I personally, I want to like at least we want to take it down. At least we want to take down 12 pool because they've I hear that they've been on a tear and won a few years in a row, and there's obviously the Inter Amazon rivalry.
Yes.
Uh, so for us, a deep run in the playoffs is the goal at least.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So you're looking to win the whole thing, or if you had a choice of winning the whole thing but not running into the Alexa, or beating Alexa but then like losing in the finals, which would you rather do?
I'd rather take him out and then lose. It's the bragging rights for me is the big play. But in an ideal world, we get to do both.
There you go. So perfect scenario, take them down in the finals and reverse what happened last year. Uh,
Exactly.
so sorry, just one sec. So tell me a little bit about the charity you guys are playing for.
Oh goodness,
Oh, did I just put you
I
on the
do
spot?
not know a lot about the charity. I think it's GiveWell, but I don't know a lot about them unfortunately just yet.
No. That's
Y-
fine. That's fine. I put you on the spot. That's my bad. Uh, but I have had the opportunity to follow your team a little bit last year, and I know that you have some very neat players with snipe builds and stuff. How much preparation and how much communication do you guys have, for these matches?
So going into this week and even last week, it was a little bit lower for the preseason game. The first game, there's definitely a lot of replay watching. There's a bit of build, crafting, shall I say? We as Amazon, we have another team as well. We have a third team this year, so I think we're all collaborating a lot more between Primal, Alexa, and us. But certainly we're looking to start stepping that up and ratcheting that up as we move forward.
So, well, that's good. But do you guys practice together then? Do you guys scrim as a whole unit?
Yeah, actually, we are. We have been. We've been either splitting off into groups. If there's PVZs on, then we'll have PVZ players in that mashup, sort of talking, scrimming together, and sort of splitting up that way. But absolutely, yeah, it's not just we've been practicing with Alexa guys. They've been practicing with us. Same with the Primal players as well. So it'll make the Alexa Painforest inevitable team kill a little bit of a wonky one, shall I say? But we'll
Yeah, I
see
could
when we get there.
definitely see that. You always see that whenever scrim partners go toe to toe.
Yeah, it's a bit of a toss up as to what you're gonna get, but it'll be fun. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, and well, I'm definitely looking forward to that, and that'll be a marquee matchup for sure, and we're gonna make sure to grab that at some point. But is there anyone on the team that you want to shout out? Anyone who's been kind of an in-game leader or who's really been a standout performance?
For me, I mean, it's the two players that won their games today, Kata and Light. They're really active in terms of the build crafting and the planning and really getting right in there and helping not just the players on our team but on the other teams at Amazon really stand up and stand out. So that's super awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So shout out to Light and Kata. I know that Kata for sure puts a lot of thought into the builds and stuff he prepares. So it's always cool to see that. Unfortunately, he couldn't take it down in the ace, but I know we'll see you guys continuing to do well. And before I let you go, any final thoughts?
Nothing much to add. I'm sure you'll be seeing us again. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
no worries, mate. Thanks, you too.
All right, so that was Shockwave from Amazon Painforest, the team leader there, the captain. And now we're going to get an interview with the winner of the ace match here. It is going to be Front Stab. And, well, we're going to bring him on in just a moment here. Oh. Looks like...
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, not bad. Feels good, I guess, to win.
Yeah, no kidding. So first of all, welcome, and why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Matthew, though my tag is Front Stab. I've been playing Starcraft 2 since 2010, on and off. Before this, played in tournaments like Torcraft, and go to a qualifier if it's nearby in Montreal or something like that. And yeah, I joined Facebook not too long ago, and is excited to join the team.
Nice. And you're not the captain, but you are the ace player. You were able to take it down for your team. First of all, congratulations. And second of all, what's the like culture over there with the team for Facebook? How do you work together at all? Do you have a lot of preparation together, or is it just kind of play ladder and go from there?
Oh, I just joined the team, so I can't say like how much the culture extends, but from what I've seen, it's definitely very open. And just yesterday we were practicing some games together, and our team is really strong. Even though I'm the ace player, yesterday I lost both of my TVPs against Sour Spinach, and
Ooh.
we tell each other tips. And I think the reason I was able to take the ace game is because one of our team members did some research on what kind of strategies Kata likes to use. I was able to scout for that in particular.
Yeah, he definitely is a particular player. He's got a very kind of filthy way of playing. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, you did a really great job holding it off, and that specifically the Reactor Viking response was one that I haven't seen recently. Back since before, like, it was Proxy Tempests. It's always been that Megfield Accelerator, but it worked out really well for you there. And, well, I know you're not the captain here, but tell us a little bit about what your personal goals are for the team. What do you want to see the Zuckerzergs do?
Well, I'd love to see us make it far in the playoffs. I know last year we got to the playoffs, I think. So, join the team. It's such a cool experience to be making an impact. That's like a big thing here at Facebook, making impact. And yeah, I'd love to be a big part of the team's progression this season. Maybe second or first place if we're lucky against the Shopify team.
Top two is the goal then? I like it. Awesome. And before I let you go, any shout outs you want to give to teammates? You already mentioned Sour Spinach was able to put in some practice work, but what about maybe your secret research guy?
Oh, yeah, Sour Spinach definitely helped me with yesterday, practice some builds. Same with Hugo, our Zerg player. I don't remember the name of everybody off the top of my head right now, but yeah, if you're listening, thank you so much for helping me join the team, getting me up to speed on how CEA works. I'm excited for future weeks.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations. Very well done. And we'll catch you a little bit later in the season, and maybe in the playoffs as well. Hopefully, have a wonderful rest
For
of your
sure.
afternoon.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna bring BeoMulf back online here. Just gonna get him back on the call. Maybe we're gonna get him back on the call. Well, regardless, congratulations to Facebook Zuckerzerg there, coming back with the reverse kill, the reverse sweep there, and really clutching it out there was Front Stab. Nice job from them. Lot of opportunities for Amazon Painforest to put it away. Not quite able to do so, but some really interesting matches and pretty good stuff. And well, before we sign off, want to thank the organizations once again. Want to thank Shopify and Gilded for sponsoring the whole thing. Want to thank you, BeoMulf. Hey, look at that, you're back now. Why don't you? What was your first thought? What are your thoughts on the first week, I should say?
I really like the format. We got some pretty cool games, and I love the idea that once you start working, once collegiate esports is done with, you can keep going. I love that. And again, we saw some great games. I had a great time with you, Steadfast, thus far. So yeah, it's a great thing overall. Massive shout out to everyone who's putting this on. It's there's some pretty cool people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really cool initiative. A lot of work goes into it, and it's really cool because it's created a lot of communities that wouldn't have otherwise existed, and I think that's the biggest impact of course, the charity is fantastic, the charity aspect, but the ability to create communities, and especially with everything that's going on now, it's really fantastic. Before we sign off for a little bit and get ready for that collegiate side of things, is there anything you want to shout out there, BeoMulf, on your side?
Yeah, probably. So when we get to the collegiate side, we're going to be doing some 2v2 stuff. And I only bring that up because I will be casting the semifinals and the finals of the Any Apprentice 2v2 tournament at about 8 p.m. on my Trovo channel. So that's going to be cool. More and more 2v2. But other than that, yeah, I think I'm ready to go for a break. I can't wait to see what we're going to get from the collegiate side of things.
Awesome. And where can the folks find you as well for that, for Trovo, and then for your Twitch account and all that?
Probably a good thing. So I stream on a bunch of different things. I do stuff for Alpha X. Best way to see what I'm doing is twitter.com/BeoMulf_SC2. I tweet about whatever I'm doing. Twitch account is twitch.tv/BeoMulf. Trovo.live/BeoMulf is the other one. So lots of different avenues, but same great Starcraft flavor.
Awesome. And well, you can follow me on same things, twitch.tv/steadfastsc, twitter.com/steadfastsc2, and then make sure to follow this channel here, twitch.tv/CEA_SC2, and we're gonna put up a quick little ending screen, and then we'll be back in about 25 minutes or so for the collegiate side, and it's going to be RIT versus UVU, so Rochester Institute of Technology versus the University of, oh boy, I'm putting myself on the spot here. Do you have that handy?
University of Utah Valley, I believe. Utah Valley University.
Utah Valley, there, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Utah Valley University. Thanks for bailing me out there, and it's been a pleasure casting with you so far, and we'll be back pretty soon. Have a good afternoon.
See you all in a bit.